This morning, Dr. Pat Scott is going to talk to us a bit about the power of communication, what communication really means, how to get your message to resonate, and then you guys will take that into your workshops this afternoon. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Pat Scott.
If you could only say what you need to say.
Knock 'em dead.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
Good morning, squirrels. By a show of hands, how many of you feel somewhat, during the day, somewhat distracted? Okay, that's just about everybody. And those of you who didn't raise your hand are basically like, did she say something? Were we supposed to raise our hands? The good news is you're not alone. In fact, there is more information today than there's ever been. There's more distraction than there's ever been. There are more competing priorities than there's ever been. As a matter of fact, when you're online browsing the internet, you have an average of 5 windows open at any time. When you find that article that you've looked for 45 minutes to find, you will only read a paragraph and a half before you look for a video, a picture, or another link. Sound familiar? I do the same thing. I look, oh, this is what I want. I read part of it, and then I just start to skim. We won't read past the fold of a newspaper. The op-ed in this country has gone from 900 words to 150 words. Our attention spans have changed. There has been a fundamental difference in the way we take information in, the way we listen, and what we're now capable of as listeners. So we have to, as communicators, we have to adapt to that. Because if you don't, if you communicate the same way you have in the past 10 years, you are going to become extinct. Your physicians don't have a long attention span. If you think you walk in their office and they look you in the eye and they say, hey, what you got for me today? And you think, oh, they're ready to listen, you're crazy. They're not listening to you. They're thinking about the argument they just had or why things aren't going well or that patient, why they won't stay on their medication. That's what they're thinking about. They're looking at you, but they're not listening to you. It is everywhere. This fundamental difference is pervasive. It's not just in business, it's in our personal life, it's in our kids' life. And things have changed. Anything you tell me right now, I can look up later when I'm ready for it. I don't have to listen to you anymore. Unless you make it meaningful. Communication is the exchange of meaning, not the exchange of information. It used to be. You used to be a group of what we used to call in sociology circles, knowledge workers. Your goal in life was to transmit knowledge from one place to another. That's what we were all called, knowledge workers. And it was new because it was post-industrial age. You're not knowledge workers anymore. You have to be meaning finders. I could get the knowledge anywhere I want. Back when I was a kid, and I know I'm going to date myself and sound really old, when I was a kid and I needed information, I'd have to get my mother to put me in the car to drive to the library, to pull out the card catalog, to walk. You're laughing because I'm old, or you're laughing because you were there? Hopefully you were there. Okay. All right, show of hands. Who was there? Oh, I feel so much better, thank you. All right, so you're walking through the card catalog, you pull it out, you have to give it to the reference librarian. She goes back into the stacks, gets the book, brings it to you. You have to photocopy it, give it to her back, because you couldn't take those special books out. And then get in your car, you get home only to realize you got the wrong article. Now, if it's not in the first half of my Google search, I'm done. If it says your video content will load in 14 seconds, oh my God. 14 seconds? Are you kidding? I might as well go check email or go get a snack. 10 years ago, you would have thought 14 seconds was lightning. Lightning. It's no longer lightning. It's so slow, I can't stand it. I don't know what to do with myself. You're laughing because you know. That's exactly it. So anytime you think, okay, let me just give him the brief history. Still too much. It's the 14-second thing. I might as well think about something else. And if you're not bringing me meaning and you're just bringing me facts, thank you, I'll look it up when I'm ready. It doesn't matter how passionate you are. It doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are. If you cannot get your message across, if you can't break through that level of distraction, you can no longer hope to be successful. Communication has to evolve. Our audiences have, so you have to. You have to change your fundamental thinking about what you're doing when you communicate. It's not enough to say, well, you know, I went in with all my stuff. all those articles and all those PIs with a print that's really this big, and I told them, I'm done. It doesn't work. We have to learn to be persuasive. We have to learn to be concise. We have to learn to be more impactful and more powerful in short segments, because that's all you have. You got 9 seconds. 9 seconds, if you could break through the level of distraction. So earlier we saw that kind of in the opening video with the squirrel. So my furry friend had a 1-second attention span, and when they have an acorn, it's 4 minutes. I don't know if you've seen them. I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and I have 1 million squirrels. And they will sit like a statue, eating that nut, not moving. And the rest of the time, they're crazy, jumping all over the place. So when I looked at that, I thought, this is what we need to do communicationally. We have to figure out, how can we give an acorn of a message to our listeners? So the acorn communication strategy that I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes is really a toolbox. It's a bunch of tools that you could throw at any message. And it doesn't just work with business. It works with bosses. It works with peers. It works with spouses. Don't tell my husband. Most of the time it works with my daughter, although she's smarter than I am, so it's hard. But it's a toolbox that you could throw. So if any of these things that I'm going to mention this morning resonate with you, try it. Try it in the workshops. Try it in the real world. Think about how you are taking it in as a listener and what you're doing to your audiences. So the acorn has 5 steps. The first one is audience, because nobody cares about you. It's all about the listener all the time. We're the most selfish, lazy, lousy listeners than we've ever been. The second one is credibility. It was important for a while, then not so important. Now it's important again. We are increasingly skeptical of everything we read. My grandmother would read the paper, and if it was in there, it would be true. What was in the paper? Do you believe what you read in the paper? Anybody? No, you shouldn't probably, right? Because there's all sorts of competing information. So credibility is becoming more important again. The third, the O in the acorn, is the order of the message. Does it matter what you say first? If you only have 9 seconds, it absolutely matters what you say first. So I'll show you a strategy for how to break that distraction with the first thing that you say. The R is to be more memorable. You want your message to be memorable, but you want to be memorable. Not, oh yeah, there was some rep in here the other day talking about something new, I don't know. You want that to be stickier. You want your messages to stick and have more meaning for them. And then the last letter in acorn is the need to connect. Now, my MBA students at Wharton roll their eyes when I say this. I say we're emotional people, we have to connect emotionally. Like, yeah, Dr. Scott, what do you want us to do? Talk about fluffy bunnies and butterflies? And no, that's not what we want. But you have to realize that we're emotional people. The definition of persuasion is not to win the argument. The definition of persuasion is to move toward a new belief or action. You can't be moved toward a new belief or action unless you're moved by the argument. So I'll talk to you a little bit about some tools to go in that bucket.